Hello again, and thank you for watching This Old Thing. Today's episode is inspired by the sunny seaside of San Francisco. Say that 5 times fast. It may sound like a day at the beach, but things at the cliffs known as Land's End have gotten more than a little weird over the years. This tale has peril on the high seas, fortunes made and lost, Egyptian mummies, a Victorian mansion barely contained by a cliff's edge, 20,000 bathing suits for rent, and a taxidermy collection that would make Dita Von Teese jealous. There had been a house on the cliffs at Land's End since 1863. By the time businessman and entrepreneur Adolf Sutro purchased the house in 1881, the structure had already been through several incarnations, from an exclusive restaurant where presidents dined to a spot for gambling and prostitution. By 1887, Sutro was bringing tourists to the seaside spot with the Cliff House as a museum and family attraction. In January 1887, a schooner called the Parallel was illegally packed with 40 tons of giant powder and began its trip to Oregon. Giant was America's first dynamite powder brand, and, being dynamite, it was usually packed extremely carefully, as seen here. After only 3 days, the ship was caught in a swell and seemed like it would collide with the Land's End shoreline. The crew of this ship, fearing the explosion, took a rowboat to the opposite shore and didn't do anything much to help. The ship became stuck on the rocks below the cliff house and exploded around midnight, throwing people from their beds, shattering every window in the cliff house, and creating an aftermath like that of an earthquake. Although the cliff house stayed firmly on the cliff after that explosion, in 1894 the original structure burned down due to a kitchen fire. Adolf Sutro set about rebuilding the house. This time he wanted the building to make a splash, so he built this. A 5-story conglomeration of Victorian styles that had restaurants, parlors, and art galleries to interest visitors. Shortly after the new Cliff House opened in 1896, the entrepreneur also opened the Sutro Baths. Now this place was much different from just a community pool. It was a huge natatorium covered in 100,000 glass windows, with 7 pools of seawater, each heated at a different temperature to suit everyone's taste. You were welcome to take a dip, once you had one of Sutro's bathing suits from his rental collection of 20,000. There were museum displays including a rare Egyptian artifact and mummy collection, taxidermied menagerie, trapeze acts, and hosts of special events. The Cliff House and Baths survived the Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906, which destroyed over 80% of the city, but it was widely rumored that the house slid into the sea. In 1907, while undergoing renovations, fire yet again struck the Cliff House and it went up in a fire the San Francisco Examiner called "something sent from the unknown to hold the human mind in awe and wonderment." People turned out in huge droves to see the wreckage. The Victorian structure was replaced with a more reserve-style building that stands there today. In this photo, you can see the seal rocks, where sea lions can often be seen playing and resting. After Sutro passed away, the baths began to struggle for money due to high upkeep costs, and they changed owners several times. After they closed in 1966, yet another, somewhat suspicious fire erupted, and the once glorious baths became a charred remain. The fire conveniently started once artifacts including the Egyptian mummies had already been removed. The ruins of the baths remain and were used in a scene in the classic film Harold and Maude. You can still visit the newest Cliff House and the ruins of the baths as part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. My shirt is a vintage blouse that was passed on to me by my great aunt Jeannie. And my skirt is a basic circle skirt pattern, which is one of the most simple things you can learn how to sew, that I made when I was a teenager. And in my hair is a carved piece from Puerto Rico.